a Pan-African epic for film and filmmaking and documenting our history. Please welcome Haile Gerima.
Let me just ask, I was going to speak and I'm going to speak, but I was thinking there was a film we organized, about a 20-minute film we want to show you that gives a historical perspective and make maybe those of you who want to speak and myself do it at the end. Because to me,
We only have 20 minutes.
yeah, I know. So I think the film is very important. I would like, I personally, don't be surprised. I think the young Ethiopians are amazingly on the button, the way things could be done in a very constructive way. I think the approach has a lot to do, and I just consider it to be a problem of historical consciousness. I don't think most merchant Ethiopians on 9th Street understand the historical background to the conflict. I don't. I've talked to many people. I walked up and down, did my homework because I'm a filmmaker. I don't like to just get into it. In fact, African Americans and sober Ethiopians called me and said, "Are you going to sit by and not be involved?" And that's how I got into it. Usually I don't get involved. All I do is film it and show it. In this case, I got involved because I think not only the history of myself, which is brief, but, Africans from day one who have fought on behalf of Africa, especially the diaspora Africans, unsung heroes. It's so deceptively a lie to say just because we have Mickey Leland, who died the same week my sister died in Washington. I went to bury her during the military junta, and Mickey Leland, who was an interesting politician from the Congress, who died in an airplane crash. I saw the plane that carried his body, and Ethiopians thankfully named the whole area, and there's a very wretched school called Mickey Leland School that I think is our historic responsibility. Ethiopians here and African Americans need to finance. But in general, Africans are not aware or do not, by and large, and I'm talking about the elite. The African elite does not care, giving a tribute to African Americans. Don't lie. Let's not lie. It will be very difficult to go to it. I would find it easy to rename the Churchill Street, the Churchill Boulevard in Ethiopia under a white name than if I pushed Malcolm X's name in Ethiopia. This is a fact of our Pan-African backwardness that we need to admit. Ethiopians are not yet Pan-Africanist. There are elites that are Pan-Africans, but most Ethiopians live in a vacuum by themselves, and that's why we're paying. This conflict is a result of that lack of consciousness. And so for me, who've traveled all over the world, in Tanzania, even Zambia, the poorest country, has a Haile Selassie Boulevard, a Nyerere Boulevard, Nkrumah Boulevard, in Zimbabwe. You go to Ghana, and then check Ethiopia. Where's Nkrumah Street? Just recently we have, during the 100th anniversary of Adwa, we have a diaspora square. So it's very important for Ethiopians to begin, not to talk about how mythically we are Pan-African. I think every time we go to vacation to Ethiopia, we should check the Ethiopian political elite intelligence's consciousness about Africa. The Haile Selassie University, now the Addis Ababa University, how many African courses do they have in the middle of Africa? How many courses about Robespierre and Napoleon and Magna Carta and Marxism and whatever. So let's not deceive ourselves. Ethiopia in the Pan-African map is backwards. And that's where we should begin. And I think young Ethiopians that I see all over the United States and universities are in the forefront as the first Pan-Africanists, making other older Ethiopians be aware of the importance of Pan-Africanism. Even when I was a student 40, 30-something years ago in America, we never had any relationship with any African students. That's a fact of Ethiopian history. African students in Addis Ababa, in Haile Selassie University, used to suffer because Ethiopians, we used to discriminate them at our university. And Haile Selassie was so advanced, he brought African students to face, to put them in that university, but young Ethiopians, elite Ethiopians, never understood even Haile Selassie's version of Pan-Africanism. Let's not lie. Let's not lie. I think Pan-Africanism is when we begin to live for Pan-African causes. How many of these merchants attend Pan-African events? They did a cross-dressing on Kwanzaa one day, quickly put a pot with, things that I have my own evaluation. But before that, every time we call the Ethiopian community to come to a Pan-African meeting, to a slavery meeting, to the Maroon meeting, young Ethiopians only came. Only young Ethiopians only came. And Ethiopians have a confusion, by the way. The young Ethiopian was very positive. That green shirted Ethiopian, I wish he was here. It was the most positive admission. The fear and the anxiety and how he put Ethiopians as human beings in this country was very fantastic. But when he missed it as a young man, the American embassy has big power in Ethiopia, even when it mistreats our people who line up to come to America. Go look at them the way American embassy lines them up. You would have Argentinian cattle more respectfully being lined up to be slaughtered than Ethiopians want to come to America. So this fake African-American-Ethiopian relationship is fake. Fake. The American embassy has the land in Ethiopia. It's true. Not Garvey, not Du Bois, the very people who echoed Ethiopia. And how did I even become Pan-Africanist? In reading Langston Hughes, we had organized a poetry for you. When Ethiopia was invaded, he wrote a poetry about Ethiopia. I was crying reading it because I never reciprocated for African Americans. Yet in Harlem, he cried for me and my people when they were being gassed by Italians. And so let's not lie. Ethiopians need the ABCD of racism. They need to understand white supremacy. We can't just be ignorants who just cook and feed people and not understand the complicated reality of race metrics in America.
The University of Virginia.
Race metrics in America. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. And so to me, let's not lie. Let's not lie. When I first came to America, the very first people I was running away from were African Americans. I admit that. I haven't grown up to know why. Because African Americans are the most demonized people in motion picture, in film. Before we even met them, we know about them. I know Ethiopians on 9th Street. I know Ethiopians who are pushing Little Ethiopia, who still think African Americans are wretched people, who are just this and that. The problem is there. There's arrogance. I agree with the young guy. There's fear. But there's also arrogance in Ethiopians to even say, when some, like this young Ethiopian before me said, when somebody protests, what about saying, pause for a second. Am I going to see in my life now in America that Ethiopian merchants are going to be like stoned like Korean store owners? Am I going to live that life in America and then say nothing? Are Ethiopians going to be like Koreans in the black community? And we're going to sit and say nothing? No. No, that would be a lie. That would be a hypocrisy. I think we Ethiopians are not automatically Africans. We Ethiopians are not automatically Pan-Africanists. We Ethiopians sometimes are not even automatically black. You know, the Oromo movement that never stepped in my building because I'm Ethiopian, they never know how I think. You know, young Ethiopians who come there every weekend to study. Invited the Oromo movement to come and explain the Oromo conflict to young Ethiopians. I admire young Ethiopians. They talk to Eritreans. They don't just inherit our views. They say, hey, you are too old-fashioned. We're going to talk to them. And then the Oromos send a white man to talk to the Ethiopians. And then the little Ethiopia people actually use white people to advance the cause of this little Ethiopia idea. And that is the fundamental problem. We need to call it as it is. The most divisive aspect of little Ethiopia, according to many Ethiopians. Fairfax is a Jewish community. You know, Ethiopians didn't dare to have Little Ethiopia on 18th Street where we first started our restaurants. Because white folks will kick our butt and they kick many people's butt. Yet, we come to where it was depletingly dehydrated. African Americans were run down to like shells. We come and we bought, and then we say, what is this noise about? The noise of the removed people is a serious issue. I tell my brothers, Ethiopians, and my sister Ethiopians, be careful. African Americans look, in this U Street and T Street, look poor, look busy, look hustling, but they're special people. They're special people. The day you recognize that, these are people who got badgered because they looked black. These are people who suffered because they had the map of Africa. They prayed, there was not a prayer, there was not a preacher in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana that didn't start his church sermon without invoking Ethiopia. Little did he know that we, ignorant Ethiopians, will be his nightmare when we physically come finally. That is a nightmare for me, because I do not accept. And I can tell you about African Americans. See my movie. Look at Ashes and Embers. Look at Sankofa. I can criticize African Americans, but I've shown my loyalty, my utmost loyalty first, to have the right to criticize the black community. I gained it over the years in my service. And no African American ever put me down for my critical take on Uncle Tom's or slave divisions or sellouts. I can say nothing about Jesse Jackson. I'll have black people hug me and kiss me. But it's not, first I was a suspect. It is in my work. And I'm saying, for you we Ethiopians have to show in our deeds we are Pan-Africanists and we're black in a white supremacist country. Our deeds is what is advertising us wrong. No attorney is going to get us out. Our deeds in our taxi driving, our deeds in parking lots, our deeds in restaurants is coming to hunt us down. Let's face it, let's be truthful. Now, do I care about Little Ethiopia? Not really. Am I against it? No. I was so shocked with this brother here. I thought he understood, with his thing in his head, that this was a discussion, not a debate. It's not. I'm not for it or against. I don't care about it. I'll tell you my problem. I think I will not die holding on to Greek name. Ethiopia is a Greek word that said burnt people because they didn't know my goddamn name. My name used to be Cush. I was the first man. I come from the first. Wait a minute. I come from people who discovered fire. And their name is called Cush. The world knew them as Cush. Greeks called them burnt face. Not Ethiopians. The whole Africa was burnt face because to Greeks we were nothing. But how many people know Prometheus? The legend of, where did Prometheus go to steal fire? According to Greeks and lying Italians and Spanish and that Anglo-Saxon history, they say to the galaxy. He went to Africa in Kush. The African people, Kush, he goes to Kush people, stole fire. And why do we suffer? Why is it that we're demonized people in the world? Why is Africa cursed? Really? Because we could have stayed home? America is not that attractive had it been good home. But you know what? Because they stole our fire and we never returned it. And until we return the fire, from this demented Eurocentric civilization, Africans will be vagabonds of all over the world. And to me, let's not kill each other. Fine, you love little Ethiopia, call it. You have attachment, good. To me, as far as I'm concerned, I know many Ethiopians don't care about that. They don't. They really don't. They really don't care. So I think African Americans should know that. As I spoke earlier, I really don't care. But I would like these two communities not to fight personally. I would like to go, excuse me, I'd like to park my car to eat at Ethiopia, but I don't want an intimidatedly insulted African American break my car, because that's how it starts. Because I sense tension. I walked up and down. I've heard two Ethiopians, we sat down, we heard an African American talk, no, we heard an Ethiopian owner talk to an African American who are deceiving. African Americans are very deceiving people. Their appearance is so deceiving. Even what they say without the historical subtext, you do not know how to understand subtext, you can't read African Americans. You see a broken African American on a bench, my goodness, you have to have an X-ray mind to understand and put it in context. I made a film called Bush Mama. And that film was about an African-American woman that everybody, including myself, passes. She's that broken Bush Mama. Bush Mama. And everybody doesn't know her potential. They only know from her book cover and judge her. But she blew people's minds in the film as I showed it. So to me, there is a resurrective aspect to African Americans. They're angry about that, we better really sit down and talk to them. I think Dr. Tuttle has said it. To me, had the Little Ethiopia idea people had gone to the black community, which I think they thought until they went to Melbourne Deal, I remember the dates. I saw them a row. I know the situation very well. Until they went there and did Kwanzaa, it never occurred to them that they had to come back to the African American community. My suggestion is that the African American community should be contacted. Well, how do you contact them? By the church organization, social organization, political organization, going to their meetings, arriving to their mourning when somebody dies, going there and share the wake, going when there's wedding. Koreans don't, they go. The Jewish community and black people, you study immigration, the Jewish community and black people were friends first. Until they started living in the suburb, took money and never lived with them, never mourned with them, never ate with them, and black people know strangers. And so to me, we need to know how to eat with them, how to live with them, how to mourn with them, how to march with them, how to march with them. Because in this area, black people used to be burned in swimming pools with acid for daring to integrate America for America's good. Everything they did is for America in the end, because this racist, inhuman, blood-sucking Native American killer country cannot be cleansed by compromisers, ass-kissers, or newly grateful immigrants who say, oh, American flag, I'm so happy you let me in. You'll see something. So long as there's poverty in America, America will never be a stable country. Look at Louisiana. It opened wide the buttock of America undressed to show the world what she's about. And so to me, Ethiopians should know their primary friends are African Americans, not the Jim Grahams. African Americans, not even bougie black Americans will save you from people who will come from a class perspective. Because if you pay attention, afterwards, and some of the speakers, class is in the shaping. African Americans are repositioning. They are questioning where nationalism has brought them. And where are we going to be in that metrics? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak this long, but I have to say it because I was kind of angry that Menelik, forget it. You know, Dr. Bayena, forget it. But the myth of Ethiopia, what she meant to black people when they were in, I was studying in the 1500s, 1600s, a place called the Great Dismal Swamp, where black people run, fresh from Africa, they run to those woods, and they call maroons. Now many Ethiopians know because when we talked about with African on radio about the Gullah people of South Carolina, a Oromo woman called me and said, "You don't know how to say Oromo yet, professor?" She thinks Gullah is Gullah everywhere. Ethiopians don't have to study, we just live on myth. You know? And in this North Carolina, in Dismal Swamp, there were black people fighting white people. You know the first black people, army black people in the guerrilla warfare of America, you know who they called themselves? Ethiopian troops. And then do I have to come and ruin that history? Because I want to send what? An injera and Belmere? For tourist attraction, I call it. What a merchant. Ethiopians, merchants are nothing but peanuts in the metrics of economics in Washington, D.C. In fact, I will tell you this, unless history testifies, Ethiopians will be removed again from this area by the more powerful white folks who are coming with big stick. And so all of us should know, in that war, where are we? No, thank you. I'm sorry. I really think we need to see the film, because the film was made 20 years ago. The facelifting you see in America, especially Ethiopians, young Ethiopians, I plead with you. See this movie. See what happened to black people in Washington. Who they were. This shell we buy. This shell, you know, they took the spirit and the ghost of the people out. So when I buy the house, I really don't know who lived in there. It could have been Woodson Carter who lived there. It could have been so many black people. And then the other thing is, black people, please don't be bamboozled by Tony Mayer kind of black people in Washington. Don't. These are black people who are selling black people for the highest bidder. And which side should we be? Whose side should we be? We can't even trust the black bourgeoisie even if they attend our wedding. We got to hunt down the real black community. We need to know where they live, where they are. In fact, you met some of them today here. Let's do the movie, and please bear with me. And I'm telling you, I promise you, some of you can help us. We can have 2 or 3 series of meetings on the line of bridging the gap. From what? History first. Studying our history, not taking it for granted. And I'm not going to say only the African American history. I think the Ethiopian history is important, like the young man said here earlier. I think African Americans would like to know, finally, true history about this thing called Ethiopia. You know, because they do know the myth Ethiopia. And I think we are responsible to somehow create the educational relationship between this community if we want to stay here, and if we want to also reposition African Americans to defend us in time of crisis, in time of demonstration. If people start to march against our business, we should have African Americans come out for us, and not just be arrogantly thinking that we could just jump from where we are. You know, even high jumpers know they have to come from some distance to jump. What is this runway? What kind of runway do we need to jump? By just being Ethiopian, invisible Ethiopian? No! We can use African Americans. In my own case, I'll tell you, I'm not Kodak's grandson, I'm not like MGM's granddaughter, I'm not a Bank America anything. I have made some contribution in cinema. Why? African Americans, once they trusted me, used to collect from churches money for me to make movies. Adwa was not made by Ethiopian money. Adwa was made by African American support, that unconditional support that I've been receiving. And so even when I look at it from my personal experience, the African American, the Ethiopian community business needs to know they're permanent friends. They're friends before they knew them. Little history is important. And my father came here and he asked me, I would like you to get me some information about those black people who were fighting during the Italian War. I want to include it in my book. We went down. There were like In 6 states, African Americans were powerless. In 6 states, they went, burned Italian stores because of the gassing of Ethiopians. African Americans went in Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, burned Italian stores. Today you heard about the pouring of libation by my sister Sandra. What is that about? On one hand, it's our African legacy. But on the other one, it is a monumentalization of powerless people. White people have taken all the boulevard, named it after their ancestors from Greek to now, to George Washington Jefferson. White folks have named the galaxies up. You look up, it's named after Greek. All the monuments are about white heroes, white slave owners. Howard University itself is named after an Indian killer. Black people do not have the power. Those names you heard, they would like to put statue for them. They would like to put statue. Before we came, we would have seen African Americans welcoming us with statue if they were powerful people, if they owned Bank America. They don't. So we came in, the only thing is their ghosts. Ethiopians are spiritually a little bit destabilized. I think our ancestors would know there was a ghost in this house first. My mother certainly knows Ole. As you know, Ole. Something has been going on here. Ethiopians think that nobody has lived there. I think that's wrong. Even if we have to live, because we have to live, we should understand there was a ghost here. And their statue invisibly continues to haunt America. And everybody who disregards Native American and African spirits in America will be haunted. And I'll tell you, if you come at peace with this ghost, you will have a better business opportunity, better personal, professional opportunity. It's just to come in peace with some spirits, because I don't think people who were beat up on this street, who were flogged, who were hanged, I don't think they're ghosts.